You would never have imagined that the last 5 dragons in the world were trapped here. And in their 4 weeks, this group of black masks wanted to kill them at a critical juncture. The dragon held up the water, and then condensed into a dragon ball. The rest of the dragons also passed their divine power to the dragon ball, and then they turned into gods. The last dragon, Zaisu, held the dragon ball in his hand and began to cast a spell. A flash of white light flashed, and all the black demons were sealed by the dragon ball for the next 500 years. Merged into Bower, the daughter of the guardian patriarch of the Dragon Heart clan, and became the next Dragon Ball guardian through layers of tests. He invited the other 4 tribes to come to discuss, but the result was their ridicule. After all, after fighting for many years, they did not trust each other at all. It turns out that 500 years ago, Shenlong used this fertile land for the fish cage. It is as beautiful as heaven, and the people live in peace. But suddenly one day, the Black Devil came. He spread rapidly and kept multiplying. He looked around where human life had passed. People turned into stone dragons and tried their best to protect human beings, but they still couldn't stop the power of the Black Devil. At the critical juncture, the last dragon, Zaisu, appeared, and he brought the power of all the dragons together to form a Dragon Ball, repelling the human beings who had been turned to stone before the terrifying black film. He was resurrected again, and Shenlong was sealed in the stone statue forever. In order to compete for Dragon Balls, they began to hate each other for Longo, and the gang was also divided into 5 tribes, namely, Longshan, Longya, Longji, Longjia, and Longwei. Although the rebuilding of the dragons is out of the question, Boa met Mary Marie, the princess of the Dragon Tooth clan, and took out the scroll. Said that the last dragon, Zaisu, slept at the end of a certain river, and he also gave the bright dragon necklace to Bower. In return, Bower actually took Mary to the tribe to admire the Dragon Balls, but as soon as she came in, Mary seemed to be a different person and kicked Bower down. It turned out that it was all a trap. Mary deliberately approached Bower in order to get the Dragon Ball, and he raised his hand to send a signal to notify others to support. Bower's father also saw the signal and understood the master. No, so I immediately went to the nearest land to protect Dragon Ball. He used his own strength to stop the Lonya people. It didn't take long for people from the other tribes to arrive one after another. They all believed that the wealth of the Dragon Heart was brought about by Dragon Ball. The leader of Godson put away his weapons and explained patiently, hoping to rebuild the state of Longo, and everyone will guard it together. Cold Arrow was shot secretly, and the team leader was injured and fell out of control in an instant. Everyone rushed up and started to snatch Dragon Ball. The Dragon Ball fell to the ground and shattered. In the next second, the ground shook, and the Black Demon, which had been sealed for 500 years, woke up again, and the Black Cat began to devour enemies everywhere. The leader of Godson in the middle looked behind him, knowing that he could not escape, so he gave the remaining Dragon Ball fragments to his daughter, and then pushed him under the bridge, while he himself was swallowed by the Black Demon. Seeing her father turned into a stone statue on the bridge, Uwe cried sadly, and she made up her mind. We must find the last dragon, and save my father even if we walk through all the rivers. This girl actually wanted to fish a dragon in a dry river. He put the scroll on the ground, placed candles around it, chanted words in his mouth, and poured 56-degree liquor into the glass. In the next 1 second, the river water flows upstream, turns into a drop, the water droplets float up. The dragon that had been dormant for 500 years actually appeared. This is the dragon Zaisu that Boa has been looking for 6 years. But this dragon seems to be different from what I imagined. The newly awakened Zaisu, who seemed to be stupid, couldn't do anything but swim. But when he picked up the dragon fragment, a blue light appeared on his body. Shenlong Zaisu actually inherited the magic power of his sister, but it is not enough to defeat the Black Mask alone. Only by collecting all the Dragon Ball fragment coefficients can the Black Devil be sealed again. So they continued to set off, first to the Dragon Tail tribe. Paul's agility through the mechanism factor followed closely behind. At this moment, Bower saw that Shusu was holding a glowing bug and giggling, and the result was 1 second. When they looked up, they found that Go Xiaodong was actually full of bugs. The two walked through carefully, and finally saw another Dragon Ball fragment ovulated by the leader of the Dragon Tail, holding it in his hands until he died. Bower supported the bones arm with a wooden stick, and only then took out the fragments. The moment he quickly got the fragments, he awakened his new skills. He could actually incarnate as an adult, but before he had time to be happy, the Dragon Tooth Princess Mary who betrayed Bower. I feel that Lonya always wants to snatch the Dragon Balls. Dominate the continent. Seeing that things were not good, Bower quickly punished the organs, trapped them here, and then woke up all the explosive bugs to delay the time, and then took the opportunity to ride the pet and run away. But the speed of the other party is too fast, there is no way. Bower pulled the dragon and jumped into the water to get on the boat to escape, and Dad did not expect the teleportation to be a little faster than the turtle. Grabbed the bottom of the boat and wagged the tail wildly. They escaped and soon reached the next stop, the Dragonclaw tribe. In order to prevent the black film from getting close, the people here built their houses on the water. I thought I could breathe a sigh of relief here, but Boa met a baby on the street. He kindly picked up the baby, but turned around and found that 3 monkeys had stolen the Dragon Ball fragments. He was about to chase the baby in his arms, but he kicked him down and threw sand arrogantly, and then slipped away on a monkey. Buya hurried to catch up, but luckily the pet was fast enough to stop them from grabbing the shards back. On the other side, Shusu and Chanjin was tricked out of the city to open the door and the black film rushed over in an instant, only to feel the breath of the dragon, and could only shrink in fear and stare at him in the distance. The old lady took the Dragon Ball fragments and forced Sisu to tell the whereabouts of the remaining fragments, otherwise she would be locked out of the city, unlocked new skills and sprayed a lot of fog and even opportunities. They escaped from here and prepared to go to the next destination, the Dragon's Back tribe. When I arrived with them, I found out that this place has long since become an empty city, and the Black Devil turned everyone into stone statues, leaving only the last clan and Beware. Before she had time to ask, Princess Longia led someone to chase her. The soldiers asked for bows and arrows to prepare to launch. In order to cover everyone's escape, Boa stayed behind and broke off. After a few rounds, he was knocked to the ground, which happened to be seen by rustling. Facing the dragon power in the gods, Marley lost his fighting power in an instant. Taking advantage of Mary's absence, everyone hurriedly used the fog to escape to the boat. The last members of the container tribe also donated Dragon Ball fragments, and the rustling of the fragments gained the ability to control water. When the distance is complete, Dragon Ball is just one last piece away. The Dragon Tooth tribe is a mountain that cannot be avoided no matter what. You never imagined what would happen if the last dragon was killed. Countless whirlpools appeared in the moat, waterfalls stopped flowing, and the river began to dry up. Before going to the deaf and dumb tribe, they first returned to the Longshan tribe and came to the valley where Dragon Balls were once preserved. Sisu told Boa that the dark magic actually came from people's suspicion. So he hoped that Bao could take the first step and trust the Dragon Tooth tribe to trust Mary. In the evening, with the help of a few monkeys, Boa gave Mary the dragon necklace she received as a child. They met on the edge of the cliff the next day. Mary handed over the last Dragon Ball fragment, but she suddenly turned around in the next second, holding the bow and arrow. Li Bao handed over all the fragments. Bao wanted to draw his sword to fight, but was stopped by the rustling, and he approached the horse step by step. She tried to influence him with sincerity, but Mary only believed that when she was at a critical juncture. Boa threw out and saw that Mary also shot a bow and arrow, and it took 1 second. The absorption and falling cliffs in the middle began to dry up as the last dragon went to the water source, and the black film was no longer hindered, rushing towards the city frantically, and began to destroy everywhere. With a violent shaking, Buer and his party all fell into the deep pit, and were soon surrounded by black demons. They used more and more Dragon Ball fragments to resist Black Horse, but the power of Dragon Ball gradually became smaller. At this time, occasionally think of what Rare Earth said, the black film comes from the darkness in people's hearts, and only trust is the key to eliminating them. So he proposed to hand over all the Dragon Ball fragments to Marley, but everyone didn't believe him, so Buer took the initiative to hand over the fragments to him, and was then swallowed by the black demon and turned into a stone statue. Seeing this, the partners also understood his intentions, and handed over the fragments to Mary, all of which were turned into stone statues, but they did not expect to get the horsepower of all the fragments. Ready to run away. But when she turned to look at everyone, she finally felt remorse. Mary put all the pieces together one by one, stood with everyone and was petrified by the black demon, and Longlu lost his power completely. Under the shock of the dragon's light, all the black membranes were wiped out. The light covered the whole land, and it rained heavily in the sky. As the rain washed away, everyone came back to life, and the water was restored. Even the former dragons were awakened one after another. They flew to Wailan and hovered above them. The river slowly rose, and the Wet Committee sent hey the magical pattern is that the rustling of the past is also resurrected from the vortex. He finally reunited with his family. Master Bao and his father were reunited again, and the father and daughter hugged tightly. Boa's selfless performance also re-establishes trust between people. After a lapse of 500 years, the forum has once again returned to glory. Luck and unity are the eternal themes. In the face of malice in the impetuous world, it is difficult to believe in the virtue of trust. After all, trust is mutual, but there are always people who are willing to take the first step towards this. Because this is the most sincere. See you in the next time.